Hi. Okay, week 25. Today is Saturday. I'm a bit earlier than I've been in the past. I hope to get this uploaded tomorrow. Today is the 11th. It is, of course it is September 11th, but I assume you know as much as I know about all of that, but it is also my, I don't know if he's my main, so far as I know, he goes back the farthest in my life, D.H. Lawrence. And he got me into the stars again, starting in 2015. And we'll head into our Stellarium app in a second to check where we're at. But this is the book that he did it with. This arrived with me in 2015, and I'm not sure why I have shadow there. But today, this book was, I did not do this, my father did this to my book. This is the first edition. This was printed after his death. This is probably the book he was ill, but you know what happens. You know why they make certain authors ill, right? Apocalypse. There he is. Hey, DH. Known as Bert, but I like calling him DH. I didn't like, but anyway, Apocalypse. And it's where he deals with the Book of Revelations and where it's all cut and pasted together from, and the magic of the stars, you know, how important it is to get back to the stars, to get back to knowing who we are through the stars. He loved the Etruscans, but they didn't know at the time. He didn't know that at the time that they were actually black people. And so he's very much helped me on the journey of understanding and pulling together the evidence from the people who know best, the people of Africa. So happy birthday, DH, and thank you so much. And just further to that, this is a phoenix. This grave, his estranged wife, well, he was still with her, but she had other partners. And certainly not his truest friend. Well, Frida was she was who she was, and she was amazing, but she wasn't Jesse Chambers, the friend that really gave DH his career, his childhood friend. But his grave, he actually got lost. His remains are somewhere at the bottom of it, somewhere floating through the Mediterranean. She wanted them brought over to the States, but this is his gravestone, his grave, which isn't actually his grave because he's not in it, but it has this phoenix in stones on it. And further to the phoenix, seems to be a major theme for me right now. Of course, why wouldn't it be? But Susan Sheppard showed up yesterday. She arrived yesterday, just in time. It turns out one of her statements in the introduction to her book for this set of cards, I'll hold it back where you can actually see it. Soft knock at the door. My son went and got them because I was like, I'm not answering the door. I'm in an apartment building, and there wasn't any alert that anything was coming. So, but something that she says in the intro has everything to do with concepts, how we process concepts in our mind, which has everything to do with the drawing work that I'm finishing up. So she made it in time to get into my my book, which is totally intentional on part of Spirit Guides, and comes from, so the Phoenix and the Phoenix on DH's birthday. And there we go. I ordered it from Kenny's, which, like, my dad loves to order from Kenny's, so little dig there. But anyway, so she came to me from Ireland, which means a lot to me because of my forever back and forth connections to the Ireland itself. It works through me through several people, and it doesn't matter what I do to break ties, cord cut with Ireland never succeeds. Okay, so as far as Aquarius energy and 11th house energy, so this week we are, and I'll open these cards up just so you get a sense of how incredible they are. And I'll put DH back over. Let me make sure I'm focused properly though. Let's see here. This hostel experience, this travel hostel, which, and let's zoom in a bit more as well. Okay. Shift this up a bit. Very good. Okay. And there we are. Now, how accurate is the travel hostel as a selected habitat for Aquarius? All I can say is I have been processing so many photos of people. It's been people in my life, all pulling them all together, getting them into, because it's a very interesting childhood I had, and it has everything to do with substantiating my claims for my drawing work, right? So, and instead of just listing things, I like to be visual. So I've got their photos, and it's just like, but the work of the people whose expertise I've researched over the years, it's just, the hostel has filled up, absolutely. So far, yes, and from all over the world. So, we're getting into the sign and the constellation of Aquarius this week. Here's the book of the Phoenix cards. And there's a tremendous amount of information about the cultures that each card is from. Now, it can be past lives. I'm not sure. I don't care one way or the other right now if I'm actually figuring out past lives, or if I subscribed. I believe that it's a true thing for many people. I'm just not sure I'm one of them. However, wow. Okay, a dog's got an opinion on that. It gives, she's got some amazing spreads, and I did one of the spreads. Mostly I wanted to connect with Susan, and I knew this was the first deck that she created. The spreads are, this spread is amazing, which would be specific to these cards, and it was completely accurate for me. And then it gives, okay, so right now I have them in the order they came out for me. I won't overdwell. I'll just do, and this is the back. So, in celebration of Susan and all she has done while she was here, while she will be, according to her, she'll be back. She might already be back. But all she's done and is doing. The cards are lovely. Excellent. You know, like, they're large, but they've got such a nice, she doesn't, oh, you can just select them. But I worked with shuffling them as I normally would, and they spoke very clearly to me that way. I don't know if I'd always do it that way, but so this energy is with us. I'm rushing past the Chinese bear. Don't do that and see the. This one is Hopi. I couldn't place it just by looking at it. I've been looking into the golem too. Did I mention that? Didn't take long, but I've done that. So, and this one is Rama. Persian. Didn't really need to say that, did I? And this actually connects to Nigeria through another tribe, not the Yoruba or the Hausa. I don't get their name, but their traditions are extremely, she says, extremely like the Egyptian traditions, kind of like Egypt probably got their traditions from these guys. But this takes us to Nigeria, and so that is not lost on me, considering everything else I'm doing connected to Nigeria. And back to the beginning. All right, so thank you, Susan. And now we'll check in on where the stars are at this week. Stars. Well, yeah. But the let's see what Stellarium can show us. Will I be in there right now? Aquila, actually, now that we're here, speaking of Ganymede, get it out of the glare. So since we're dealing with the constellation of Aquarius, and at times Capricornus was part of Aquarius, but Aquila is the eagle that either Zeus embodies or sends down to get Ganymede. Aquarius. Now Aquarius, things that are interesting that I've figured out, because Aquarius as Ganymede, Aquarius, before he's Aquarius, this is the story of how Aquarius earns his constellation, is that of course Zeus is attracted to him when he sees him as a young man tending his father's sheep, and the father hates Ganymede, is jealous of him because he used to be good looking as well. And so Zeus approaches the father and says, I'll trade you like a tremendous number of horses for your son. No problem, says the dad, and secretly says to himself, I would have traded him for one horse. I get this from an excellent site that I'll give credit to. It's not always easy tracking down a concise, clear story. But so Aquila comes down and approaches Ganymede. And because this isn't true, Ganymede climbs up on the eagle and is flown up to Olympus. Yes? And there becomes the sexual, shall we say, not even a rent boy, right? And then he has to serve all the gods and goddesses, right? But then one day he's in Hera's room and he looks down and he sees his dad doing so well with all those horses, and he loses his shit. And he starts pouring everything down. And so it's Ganymede who gets credited with, as far as Greek stories are concerned. But also if you go into the Sumerian and the Babylonian stories, and Egypt equates Aquarius because it's that time of year over there with flooding. Okay, so the Great Flood, things line up. And he just pours everything down on earth. Not just the water, but the wine, the ambrosia. Now, I know there's going to be a tremendous amount of sexual things to do with this as well. Same as with the twins. But he's so heartbroken, and he's just letting it all rain water on earth and causing this great flood. And Zeus comes in, sees what's going on, and he feels a pang of guilt, apparently. And that's at least one version of the story. And Ganymede is so overwrought with all the pain. He said, can you please just let me go back to Earth and let me live out my days in solitude and pay my debt and just basically die? And Zeus is like, no, I can do better by you than that, which really, what's coming doesn't seem better. But anyway, he says, no, I will turn you into I will put you up in the stars and make you immortal in the stars. And puts him up as Aquarius. And I'm not sure that any of us would be too thrilled with that, but that's, again, the story of what they see. Now, what's interesting is remembering that Uranus hadn't been discovered yet. Uranus is discovered in modern times, right? So the stories of Uranus as a god have nothing to do. There was no knowledge of Uranus, and this is Aquarius' primary ruler, right? With a hint of Saturn. But the Greeks had no knowledge of Uranus as a planet. So they have him set as a god, and it's later on modern astronomers name the planet after the god. They decide. Astronomers that don't do astrology decided that the personality of the persona of Uranus the god suited the planet. So that's a culpability on the part of astronomers, where they're actually blatantly being astrologers. So we need to kind of call them out on that, I think. But yeah, so at the time, right, this will have, now Zeus and Uranus have their relationship, of course. But yeah, that's where we're getting with that. So yeah, I've got, but that has everything to do with Kila, and this is supposed to be, let's just see how dark this part of the sky actually is, because this is the sea part of the sky. Get rid of that menu. This is called the sea part. It's the one of the dark parts, but you see dark over there, but apparently this is uniquely dark, and because of the experiences of the northern hemisphere areas that were the astrologers that we tend to focus on, it was their rain season, it was their flood season, thereabouts. But actually, well, no, anyway, enough of them. So then I looked into, I'll get out of this. Oh, but where's our sun? That's right. Where is our sun? Let's just check on the progression of everything. If I'm probably below the horizon, aren't I? With, why would that be? Okay. There's the sun tonight. Okay, yeah, Stellarium does that thing where it's actually daylight for me, but they're, okay, so sun is at that rear paw of Leo. And Mars is, what's that? Oh, it won't tell me, right? Because it's underneath. Sky Safari will tell me, but oh, I found something out about Prima. What did I find out? I'll go into my notes. Yes, if I could. Okay. Backing it up a bit. Where is, there's Venus moving past Spica, Mercury moving towards it. Okay, getting ready to go retro. Moon over in Libra. Alright. So everything pretty much, let's see. Where's that? We're still in Leo. We're not out of Leo yet. We haven't crossed the midpoint yet. Okay, enough of that. Anything we need to change on our calendar? Let's see here. Yep, hostile. And in the best possible sense. I don't know how comfortable you are with traveling through hostels, but there's some pretty awesome hostels. And the nice thing about hostels is different hostels will have different standards, and you can do more or less for yourself, right? And it means that in the energy of being with Aquarius, there's like an interdependence, but also this independence of, yeah, let's pool resources, let's, I'll facilitate this, but also I need you to do your own part. That, and so I went to a video by Sylvia Roshan, about Aquarius, her video on Aquarius from a couple of years ago, and it is a beautiful video. I haven't finished all the work for the week yet, but I'm being mindful when I do work on it. So let's see here. Okay, the camera stopped, so I took a second to go find what it was I'd found about Purina, right? And so back when we had the moon, I found one night when I was on checking things out here. See, the moon was lined up right with her. And I know we're not dealing with Virgo right now. We're dealing with Aquarius, but honors a Roman goddess of prophecy. So that's interesting. We'll get into that later when we get to Virgo. Okay. So How that my battery says that it's running down, even though I haven't used it. Yeah, okay. So we're just waiting to see if the sun takes till the 17th to enter Virgo. I kind of hope that it does, because I'm using the Leo energy still to get that work done. Because my 10th house is, as long as the sun's in Leo, I'm in my 10th house, right? In whatever house you're in. Okay, so here we are. Also, last time I mentioned this black mark, it ended up being, this is what my printer did. See how I wasn't printing anything black, but it left a black mark? Ooh, and I just put it in the flame. Way to go, Kristen. But ended up being the day I watched the last episode of Twin Peaks, but it also is one of the peak days for the Feast of the Beast. And coming from hanging out with cult victims and survivors, as I looked into it, Fritz Springmeier points out that it's a year-long, is it Fritz that did it? Yeah, I think so. Points out that it's a year-long ritual thing, right? Okay, but right around this time of September, they have their marriage ceremony of a virgin, which means child, to, we'll say Satan, but Satan's not the real name, right? Okay, not so far as I know. But Satan, I guess, is a word that will do. Satan is a construct. It's a Hebrew construct. It just means opponent, but it's like a... It can be just as well to name the evil one Satan, but it's misleading because it's not accurate enough, you know, because when somebody creates a construct, it's to take you off of, you know, it sets you off on the wrong tangent, right? And meanwhile over here, and I'm not saying it's the exact opposite of who we think of as Satan, I'm just saying there's someone more specific who's responsible than basically smoke and mirrors. But anyway, so I thought it very interesting that this black mark showed up on that day. And there was a prayer request from a Brooke Federline that I met with on Twitter. Found her putting up a prayer request on YouTube the day after. Normally she doesn't come across my radar too frequently. So I stopped and prayed with her, but she was praying against Jezebel, and I'm wondering if Jezebel is just, you know, another incarnation, another name for Lilith, which is a false name of who we're really looking to out of Africa, right? So back to all of I've got the stars labeled. Now I need to go in. I know there are clusters in, several amazing clusters in the constellation of Aquarius. But I really need to just sit down some more and get into and make my notes and get my screenshots. I do have some. I feel very caught up in Aquarius energy right now because I'm doing exactly what 11th house. I'm prepping for 11th house. I'm coming right into it. And I'm having to be very much my Uranus unique self. Yeah. Here are two. Found this on credit to truetarotales.com. Okay. When I get to a site that says it's copyright protected, I just leave it alone. I don't reference it now. I don't have anything to do with it. If they're going to be like that, then I don't even want to spend any time on their site. This one, I'm not saying that this did this. Another site did, and I just backed off right away. Said, you know what? I would never do that with my content. And so, yeah, talk about the Eye of Sauron. But the Helix Nebula in Aquarius and the Saturn Nebula. So those I found. Let's see what else I found. Yeah, same site, talking about it being now. What would be interesting is to contrast this with Aborigines out of Australia. The way they use the dark spaces of the sky to navigate. So in the dark region of the sky called the sea, containing other watery constellations, Pisces, Eridanus, Cetus, Capricornus, Delphinus, and Hydra. Hydra. So, yeah, it's True Tarot Tales. Aquarius. I've got the title here somewhere. But then I looked into Aquarius and Utnapishtim from Gilgamesh, who was basically the pre-Abraham. He survived the flood, right? And you go to him to get basically the pearl, the plant of immortality. Now I should have a title here somewhere that gives, yes, Aquarius, if you want to go look up Aquarius the Cloud Bearer, Mankind, Rain and Flood by Katie Allen over on truetarotales.com. Some very good stuff over there that I found. It's not definitive, right? But look at this very interesting depiction. Like, how sexual is that? I just feel like there are layers to this, and I don't even think I'm just feeling it. I think I know it. So this also, because it brought me to Gilgamesh through Utnapishtim, through Aquarius, and understanding just how Sumerians actually feared the constellation of Aquarius because of the huge floods that it would time with it. But it takes us back to taking us back to Gilgamesh. Somebody pointed out in a we also got into, do I have it here? Signs of the Times, Unlocking the Symbolic Language of World Events. Now, I wouldn't actually get into a whole lot of this, but I did, if you go into the preview, I think it's on Google Books. Yep. Then talking about genetic modification of humans, right? And the whole Aquarian energy of that. So that's where I'm, yep. eratawordpress.com. Here we go. Now, Mythic Imagination, mythicjourneys.org. Here is something that needs to be read, and I kept track of all of it on screenshots. I want to give him credit. I've got his name at the end, but mythicjourneys.org. Gilgamesh and Enkidu, the two main figures of the Gilgamesh epic, they are the Gemini twins, which predate the Greek, yeah. And they are journeying the story of Gilgamesh. I didn't realize this, of course, but he's traveling through the zodiac, and so Hercules and Hercules come from Gilgamesh, right? It's based on Gilgamesh and his heroic deeds, and their heroic deeds are the same. And they're all based on, the deeds are what they do going through the zodiac. The bull, the lion, and Scorpio, the death, all of that. And so I can only thank John David Ebert. No matter what, even if he is with the Joseph Campbell Foundation and it's a white supremacy thing, even if, tremendous information from him about this, like that I haven't got it from anywhere else over all the years. So that's tying Aquarius to Gemini again, but of course air. Now somebody was saying that Aquarius used to be the 7th house of antiquity, and I have not come across that in both the sidereal or the tropical stuff. So one rogue person so far is claiming that it was the original 7th house. So I'll go digging into that as well. But yeah, so you can see that I haven't quite translated yet. I've ordered ink. Now I've gone and ordered, I need it. I've used up my other colors. Let's see if I can give you an idea of, did I take a screenshot of who I'm getting ink from? Probably not. Anyway, I'm going to attempt to work with non-canon ink. We'll see how that works out. I went through something that has over 15,000 positive reviews, and then I'll get back on track with printing up things that you can see, because I kind of like that. But I also I haven't figured out exactly how I want to arrange things on here for information. But that's where I'm getting with the Aquarius energy so far, is that I feel like there's, okay, so this is the video I recommend so far. I'm sure I'll go back to KRS astrology as well, but I like to, you know, if anybody else comes up, I'll find them as well. That's why it was kind of fun going through the websites this time as well. But yeah, Roshan Sylvia. Okay, and Aquarius zodiac sign, personality, psychology, love work. Excellent take. I have my Aquarius moon, of course. But several people in my life with strong Aquarius, well, Aquarius risings and Aquarius birth months with Capricorn suns. But yeah, my dad's an Aquarius with a Capricorn sun and a Gemini rising. Yeah. But he also doesn't dig into the astrology himself. And so that's a whole other kind of person, as opposed to an Aquarius who does go into the astrology. I had my last partner, someone I'm still talking with, shall we say. I love him. But yeah, no, he's an Aqua rising. And with me and my Scorpio rising, it's yeah. But again, with my Aquarius moon, but then I'm the one that's into the astrology, and he's fighting it tooth and nail. So not the same kinds of Aquarius, right? Totally different when you're actually actively involved in your psychic astrology journey. Okay, so that I have been digging. I just haven't printed everything up. But that's where we're at for now. Hang on, am I doing it again? Yeah, I am. Yeah, I am. For this sign, so I think she said, Roshan was talking about the fact that Aquarius have throat blocks, like communication blocks when it comes to feelings, expressing themselves when they most need to be, you know, express themselves on a personal level. And I can certainly say that I've always felt like I have had a stroke sensation, right? Like it's almost like I actually physically can't speak at times when I'm feeling most vulnerable. And I've frustrated a lot of people that way, but I've also let things get to the point where really they didn't sort things with me sooner, when it was less upsetting, when I was able to talk, right? And I was telling them that something was wrong. So there's a kind of a mixed, it's not just the fault of having the block. It is people pushing it until it reaches that block. But yeah, and again, I'm working with the way that the mind actually does function, using friction to find the shape of concepts. And I think friction has a lot to do with success in Aquarian ways. So, and as for the age of Aquarius, the math is so all over the place with that I'm not even bothered to try to figure out exactly when I feel like the age of Aquarius would be happening, because I'm still rather fond of the age of Pisces. But yeah, there isn't really a way to, there would just be a matter of choosing. If you get a sign that tells you that it's the age of Aquarius, then you go with that. If it doesn't matter so much, then just don't even worry about it. Okay, so not much point to ramble on beyond that. I think we've got it all covered. I'll catch up with that, because then we are straight into Aquarius in the birth chart and in the tarot cards. So yeah, that's it for now, and that'll be week 26. So this is the end of week 25, and I feel like the Aquarius thing, Gemini definitely brought the storm. Definitely brought me home, and now it's a question of really, the first couple of, like the first half of Aquarius in the 11th house, I have been making my peace with my past, with a lot of stuff that I destroyed that I had to go back and get back in new ways, because I destroyed it so that I could start over in life. And so it's done a lot of connecting like circuits, right? Recreating circuits, rewiring, absolutely. That's been an Aquarius experience so far. Yes, and getting my Hampstead Research logo all revamped. But my best friend Tracy threatened to report me missing, and Aquarius does go missing. But again, the idea of fitting in, finding your way into the world, the population. And so, is there anything else? Let me just look over my notes for a second here, my journal, in case I'm forgetting something. The moods. Sticking with that insect energy as much as possible. Some more dreams. Beethoven coming through. Orchestrating. The idea of orchestrating. It's taken me back to my music roots, that's for sure. Those are my roots, are all in professional music. But very much articulating concepts that have been difficult, complex, that have taken years. Yeah. No, I think it's been so much about doing. So much about doing. That's what it's been about. Getting it done so that it can be communicated, which is more, for me, more 10th house, of course. But incorporating all the people that have been in my life, all the professional musicians that were in my mom's professional music life, but my dad's professional life. And his world was philosophy, but also university, bookstore. But I've gone back to my university roots, my film roots, my yeah, all the teachers that, so there's a Chiron energy around this. And there's something about Chiron took the place of Prometheus. Yes, there's a connection to Prometheus and all of this. Absolutely, that we've got to go into. Right, okay. So that's where we're at. Let me just see if I have a visual on that. And because I should do, but perhaps I don't. And I just had, who did we have? Again, we come back to Goethe. France has been calling me again. But so we have the Sorcerer's Apprentice, Faust, and hang on, I'll take a moment to figure this. Yep, so let's tie this all up with Goethe again. Who knew? I mean, not that other writers don't do similar things, but he did it in a way that impacted more than anybody else's versions, right? In many ways. Well, I say that not knowing about Prometheus's various incarnations, but okay, so he wrote the poem Prometheus, okay? There's Goethe's name. And then we have, and that is, we credit Thomas Dorset, blogspot.com, for the translation and getting it out there. We also have, yes, The Sorcerer's Apprentice by Goethe. And we have Ganymede by Goethe. And then The Deal with the Devil, Faust, featuring, well, not featuring, but highlighting Marguerite. The Daisy Chain, the Daisy, the Order of the Daisy. No, is it the Order of, anyway, the PEO. So anyway, that's four stories connecting our Gemini experience with our Aquarius experience through Goethe. Now, what about Libra? Libra seems unique to both of those, but we'll see how we tie it all in. Okay, so I'm shutting up now, and I will see you in a week, and I hope to get back to the readings anytime soon. But because the book has to be done, it has to be published, because this is the whole program has to be running by 3rd week of September in order to book up at all in time for November. Okay, until next week, much love.